This is Charlie Rose.
Sandra Bullock is here. She is one of Hollywood's most indelible actresses. She is also one of its most versatile, with performances in hits like Speed, Miss Congeniality, and the Oscar-winning drama Crash. Here is a look at some of her work.
Miss, can you handle this bus?
Oh, sure. It's just like driving a really big Pinto.
I need to know, can you handle this bus?
I'm fine. Just tell me what the plan is. Okay. Is there a plan?
Just for you to drive. We're okay for now. Just keep us above 50.
Good plan. So you're a cop, right?
That's right.
Well, I should probably tell you that I'm taking the bus because I have my driver's license revoked.
What for?
Speeding. I'm in a dress. I have gel in my hair. I haven't slept all night. I'm starved. And I'm armed. Don't mess with me. Whoa. I'm fine. I'm cool. I'm good. I wake up like this every morning. I am angry all the time, and I don't know why. Carol, I don't know why. And Yeah, call me back. Bye.
Kate.
Hey, Alex was just telling me about the lake house.
In the meantime, let's start talking to people. We don't need his blessing for that. I think we should just speak to people on the street.
Yes, and in our nicest way, the way that would most put people at ease, say.
Madam, may we ask you about the gruesome murders out of the Clutter home?
Maybe you should drop the word gruesome.
There he was,
Standing.
kneeling
Like a man.
on a bed of rose petals in a tuxedo. Your son. Your son. And he was choking back soft sobs. And when he held back the tears and finally caught his breath, he said to me,
Margaret, will you marry me? And she said, yep, the end. I was hungry.
Sandra Bullock has now been nominated for her first Best Actress Oscar for The Blind Side. She plays a feisty Memphis mother who adopts a homeless African-American boy with unusual football talent. Here is a look at the film.
I'm not cutting, I'm just asking. Let me tell you something, all right? We have been sitting around here for over an hour, and when I look around, all I see are people shooting the bull and drinking coffee.
How can I help you?
Oh, he was first.
No, you go ahead. I think I want to hear this.
Me too.
You're right.
Excuse me? You're right? How'd those words taste coming out of your mouth?
Like vinegar.
Who is that, SJ?
Big Mike. He goes to high school here.
What is he wearing? It's below freezing. Do you have any place to stay tonight? Don't you dare lie to me.
was this a bad idea?
What's the big deal? It's just for one night. It is just for one night, right, Leanne?
Tell me just one thing I should know about you.
I don't like to be called Big Mike.
Leanne, is this another one of your charities?
I need to find out more about his past.
He's been enrolled in 7 different institutions. His grade point average begins with 0.
He needs to do better in school.
I'd love to work with him.
This is mine?
Yes, sir.
Never had one before.
What, a room to yourself?
I bet.
Michael's grades have improved enough that he can go out for spring football.
How's he doing?
Haven't quite gotten the hang of it yet.
It's all real nice what you're doing, but don't be surprised if one day you wake up and he gone.
I heard you got you a new mama now. She fine, too.
Michael was here.
Tell him to sleep with one eye open.
You threatened my son. You threatened me.
Sandra Bullock.
We're in the middle of practice, Leanne.
You can thank me later. This team is your family, Michael. You have to protect them. Tony here's your quarterback. You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me.
Yes, ma'am.
SJ, you're going to want to get this.
Mike's the best left tackle I've seen in years.
You're changing that boy's life. No, he's changing mine.
The Blind Side.
I said you could thank me later. It's later, Bert.
The Blind Side has also been nominated for Best Picture. I'm pleased to have Sandra Bullock back at this table. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And that incredible body of work we just saw.
Well,
it's good. Tell me about this story.
I got the script. It was a beautiful script. I mean, you sometimes read a script and you can see the whole thing play out. It was beautifully written, every beat, every moment. But the character of Leanne was a bit much. I didn't buy it. I said, I don't know how to play this. I don't know how to find the person in there. And I didn't buy that she was real. I thought it was sort of a writer taking liberties on a character. And our director, John Lee Hancock, just could not describe her. I kept saying, well, what is it that she's about?
This is before you took the part,
before
or
I
after
took the part.
before
Before
you
I took the part,
Yeah.
because I just wanted to know, why do you think I can play this woman? I don't see, he couldn't describe her. And so finally, 8, 9 months later, he said, well, why don't you just go to Memphis and meet her? And so there was a time I was in Austin. I said, why don't I just go down to Memphis and meet this woman, and we'll sort of call it a day. And I met her, and just 8 hours later, I was thoroughly exhausted. I can't describe her. I can't, because it's an energy and it's a drive she has that you either get behind her and get caught in the draft, or you get out of her way, because she doesn't care who she hurts along the way, as long as she gets done what she needs to get done. And so I didn't say yes after that, but I think weeks later I saw a crack in her veneer which said, I understand why she's that way based on her upbringing and things that she'd experienced.
But I also said, once you were there, once you started filming, you said
it was the worst.
This is a mistake. I shouldn't be here. Why am I here? I don't get this.
It was horrible. It was actually a tiny piece of the scene left in the movie, but it was literally maybe 2 lines that I had with one of the guys that was one of the gang members, and I could not figure it out. Couldn't gel. Nothing clicked. It was hot. I was not good. John couldn't help me, and it was literally a scene that should have taken maybe 30 minutes to shoot. Went on to like 3 hours, and I literally got in the car and I said, I've made a huge mistake. And I don't know how I'm going to get through the next 3 months, and we're all going to be miserable. So bad, dumb hatches. But
then what happened?
I don't know. I think week 2 happened, and there were some scenes that actually had flow of dialogue and energy, and the kids came. The kids got there. Lily Collins and Jay Head and Quentin Aaron. And once we were in the family unit, the rhythm made sense. And I think just wearing Leanne for a while and having worked with her rhythm and her cadence, it just, I don't know what happened, but I think once the kids got there, something connected with the banter back and forth, and I found the rhythm there, and it made sense to me. But that first week was not a good time for me.
Did the director say to you, this is why you write for this? This is what makes you the perfect person to play Leanne?
He didn't. Well, I kept saying it. He was so calm about it, and I thought there was something wrong with him. And when someone has such ease about what they do, you always question it. We're okay with drama and someone struggling, but I couldn't understand why he was so calm. But now looking back, he spent 2 years with this family, and later on I looked at it. I go, well, maybe Leanne and I have more in common than I thought. I thought myself to be gentler, and apparently I'm not.
But you mean people rush forward to say to you, you're exactly like
that is you. No, my sister said that. Yeah, she said you might want to look at this.
So tell me who she is, Leanne.
Leanne Toohey. If I could tell you who Leanne was,
this would have been a lot easier.
This would have been, she's what could be a stereotype of the woman that we imagine coming from Old Miss, from the South. Right. Well-bred, beautiful, cheerleader, very Christian, very, very much on the right path, and there's nothing in her brain that I believe makes her feel like it's not entitled to her, whatever she sets for. Not in a bad way, but in a very clear way.
I should have this,
and
therefore I will get this.
And I've seen it at work, and I don't know how a person is made like that, but I always feel that someone who has that much together in their life at that age had speed bumps along the way, and I need to find the speed bumps in order to figure out who she is, or I'm not buying her.
So how did you figure it out?
I asked some personal questions.
Did you really?
I did.
Like what?
Well,
you know, I wanted to know, you know, it's...
Why are you the way you are?
Why are you this way, Leanne? What's wrong with you? As people often say to me.
Yes, exactly. So there was an identity right there.
Because I see this sort of, the whole born-again Christian world, I see it, I saw it as very hypocritical. I had a lot of issues with it because I went to school in the Bible Belt, and I saw a lot of hypocrisy that went along with it. And so, you know, I loved the aspect of the film that doubted their intentions, going, did you take this child into your home in order to breed him to you know, immerse him in this world of football for your alma mater?
Yeah, were you thinking about Ole Miss, or were you thinking about the welfare of this young man?
I loved that aspect, and I wanted that to be bigger because everyone else was thinking it. Because we tend to think the worst of a good deed more than we do, oh, this is a kind, loving gesture.
So what was the answer to that question?
She would do this at any time. I mean, once you got to know Leanne, she takes over people's children. She takes over your life. She's a collector of people who need things done, and she does it with such love. And I think having been raised in a place that wasn't open-minded, I mean, completely the other direction, she could have gone in that direction. Yet she was placed on this planet to break the stereotype that you think she is. And I don't know how else to. I know I stammer a lot, but she's a dichotomy of so many things, but she needs to be all those things to do what she does, and she does it with such love. And you see that family and those 3 kids together. I go, I don't know which kid wasn't here before because of the connection and love that they have and the protection that they have for each other.
Tell me who the character is in Michael Lewis's book.
It's Michael Orr. It is this I don't want to say child, this human being, this young human being who conceivably should have landed hardened, shut off, angry, had every right to be, was not taken care of the way he needed to be taken care of, yet there was a light inside of him that allowed him to want the best for himself. And the fact that he got as far as he did before the Tuohy stepped in says that that's a human being that he was going to get somewhere in life and find what was best for him, but in stepped this woman who saw a child on the street and said, it's cold, get in my car, I'll let you sleep here and we'll figure out what to do with you later. And that's exactly what she did. I mean, it could have been a green child, a Chinese child. It didn't matter to Leanne. There was a child on the street in shorts and T-shirt in the freezing weather. And Michael Orr is the one that is the extraordinary story in this.
All right, roll tape. This is a scene in which Leanne talks to her Memphis friends about Michael. Here it is.
Hey, does Michael get the family discount at Taco Bell? Because if he does, Sean's going to lose a few stores.
He's a good kid.
Well, I say you make it official and just adopt him.
He's going to be 18 in a few months. Doesn't really make much sense to legally adopt.
Leanne, is this some sort of white guilt thing?
What will your daddy say?
Before or after he turns over in his grave? Daddy's been gone 5 years, Elaine. Make matters worse, you were at the funeral. Remember? You wore Chanel in that awful black hat. Look, here's the deal. I don't need y'all to approve my choices, all right? But I do ask that you respect them. You have no idea what this boy's been through, and if this is going to become some running diatribe, I can find an overpriced salad a lot closer to home.
Leanne, I'm so sorry. We didn't intend to...
No, we didn't, really. I think what you're doing is so great. To open up your home to him, and... honey, you're changing that boy's life.
No. He's changing mine.
How does he change her?
She thought she was doing something, doing a good deed, when in fact she had no idea that there was a piece missing in their family and in their life. And he stepped in and made them be a better family. You know, they were a great family, but I think they were a great family and they go in different directions. And this young man stepped into their lives and it made them want to stay home and be with each other and take the time. And, you know, like most things in life, you know, you think you're doing the best thing and I'm here to save and I'm here to fix. And something comes out of left field, no pun intended, and completely breaks you open in a way that I don't think they expected. You know, she's a tough nut to crack, and you want to see tears in a woman's eyes, you have her watch her kids, and he was so present and open, and that's what I think sort of made them all stop and realize this child means more to us than just us helping someone out. We need him.
What do you think makes it such a successful film?
We had no explosions.
Right.
No sexy scenes.
No chases.
No chases.
That's right.
No CGI.
No CGI. No forensics.
Nothing. No
Yeah.
cop chases.
No.
You know,
No CIA, nothing.
No NCIS, CIA, PDQ. I don't know that. I always have to go back to our director, John Lee Hancock,
Really?
who said, this is a story about a mother and son. This is a story about a mother and a son. And, you know, I think in a world where, you know, we consider ourselves very open-minded until we're presented with a situation that doesn't fit into what our life is supposed to be like. And then you find a lot of open-minded people quickly shut down and their minds aren't as open. But I think when you see love happening and you see it in a light that it's bigger than you and it's about something good and it has trials and tribulations. We all need that in movie making. You can't make something sticky sweet from beginning to end. I think when something's really out of love and it just gets back to the basics of good storytelling. I don't think you can go wrong. He didn't need
Well,
bells
some
and
people
whistles.
make an argument it touches all the bases. You know?
And I'm sure it does.
You know, you've got the Christian community,
Mhm.
you've got the football community.
Mhm.
But the question also is, did you know
No.
that... you know the question,
Yeah.
don't you?
No.
Did you know this was an Oscar?
No. Then I would have said yes right from the beginning.
You
I
would
need
have
my
had a
Oscar.
problem.
I shall take this part.
Well, now, do you need your Oscar?
No.
Yes, you
I
do.
thought in Speed 2 I had it clinched. I
Did
had it
you?
in the bag.
How about Crash?
So, Crash. Who, again, Crash. A week before I signed on that film, it wasn't getting made.
Yeah.
You know, I just read it and I said, I want to be a part of this story. And I think it was made for $6 million. All of us just sat in our little honey wagons and wanted to make this great story. I thought people chose things according to the Oscar path. I did. So I thought the whole road there was completely different. So me saying no, obviously I had no idea how special it would be for me. But I also don't pick things. I mean, I've said no to films that you've seen actresses go on and do very well with awards-wise, but I'm...
You say no because it doesn't feel right for you?
It just doesn't feel right at the time. And then years later I go, well, now I might be able to do this, but at the time it just didn't. It didn't.
You think there's something to this idea that when you stop reaching for it, then it'll not happen?
I wasn't really reaching for it. I'm still baffled by the events that sort of have transpired in the last 2 months.
The huge success of the film and,
and the huge
being nominated
film,
and now being a front runner and all of that.
Yeah, the whole front runner. It's so funny. You know, I just go, if Meryl was in here or Gabby, they'd be a front runner too. It's like, it's an interesting machine.
You don't have to worry about this. You're only up against Meryl Streep. I mean, what the hell?
But also up
She
against
hasn't been
Gabby. Have you seen Precious? It's like,
yes,
or
I have.
all the girls, you know,
exactly.
all the women.
Terrific performances. This could be a... Go ahead.
It doesn't matter. We're all there to enjoy this moment together, and I'm happy truly to be there. And you know, I've never been nominated.
Take a look at this.
Give me a minute, Bert.
We're in the middle of practice, Leanne.
You can thank me later. Come. Michael, do you remember when we first met and we went to that horrible part of town to buy you those dreadful clothes? And I was a little bit scared and you told me not to worry about it because you had my back. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
This team is your family, Michael. You have to protect them from those guys, okay? Listen. Okay. Tony here's your quarterback, all right? You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me, how you have my back, how you have his, okay? All right, Tony, go back. All right. Oompa Loompa here is your tailback. When you look at him, you think of SJ and how you'd never let anyone or anything hurt him. You understand me? All right, go back. Got it?
What about Collins and Mr. Tui?
Fine, they can be on the team too. Are you gonna protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Good boy. And go have some fun.
Tell me about that particular scene
Well,
from an acting standpoint.
From an acting, given that I knew absolutely nothing about football.
Really? You live in Austin, Texas.
I know. See, you passed judgment.
Your husband,
I know.
by the way.
Who was a ball player, and I was a
Yeah,
cheerleader.
Exactly.
No.
What goes on here?
I don't know. Craziness.
Yes, yeah, that probably too.
But having not known what I know now, and then coming to it this way to understand and love the sport has been the greatest experience, I think. of this whole process in an odd way. To learn what
to
an
learn
athlete...
to love...
Well, to learn what an athlete and what a player has, because I love athletics. I'd always secretly wanted to be some kind of athlete on some kind of professional level. Never did it.
On a professional level?
Yeah, I've always,
like
loved... I don't know.
Skiing or tennis or...
something. I mean, I was, dancer, gymnast. I did everything.
Okay.
So I love what people can do with their body, and I enjoy that in physical comedy, to see what you can do with your body in order to get a reaction. I identified that with the players and their stamina and their agility, and so many of them coming from tricky and hard places to form this group with this one man shepherding this entire team of young men. It was beautiful. So to learn how to speak the language and learn what I was saying was
okay,
fun.
so that's part of the challenge. What else about this scene? Because the way she walked in there.
Yeah, the high heels in the moist mud.
Exactly right.
It was
and then the
sopping
expression
wet.
on her face for that after she's sort of done her...
Oh, Leanne, when she talks to you, has this thing where she's just like, I'm not that she's looking down at you, but she knows, and she's letting you know that she's one above you, and if you want to question her, you go right ahead. So
I'm the captain of this ship.
Yes, and she does have a head where she's always picking up her head when she's making a point.
And you
I
pick that up
too.
and put it in this in the portrayal. And she loves it.
She
loves it.
Does she?
I don't know. All I know is you told me I had to get her here at this table.
You
That's
do.
what I remember.
I loved
the whole family,
her.
maybe.
I loved them, and I still love them, and I just didn't want her to be offended by the portrayal. I wanted her to know that but here's the thing: she knows the difference between real life and movie making, and she got that completely. I thought she'd be in there messing around and telling us how to do things. No, she would show up at night with some of her lady friends, on the way to dinner, and say hi, and the entire set would stop and crowd around Leanne. But she knew the difference between.
Now, did you talk to Michael Lewis about this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't talk to him.
He's a very funny guy.
He's a great guy, and again, very much like John Lee Hancock, understated and quiet.
Yes.
They aren't people who toot their own horns,
right.
and he wrote the foundation that was the catalyst for all of this, and between those two men, I learned so much about. I want to say being a guy, but I'm sure there's female football players, but the love of sport, the love of coach, the family aspect of everything I came to it completely new and fresh, and I think that's why, to your question earlier, that's why the film did so well, because it's an aspect of how to be a family in a time when we're not doing so well sometimes on being a family, and I see that in football, how they pull together. We saw it at Super Bowl. It's about being a community. There's so many different aspects of being a family that I don't think we've shown that enough on in what we do in our business. We're so quick to show an explosion or someone getting killed, but it's nice to show something that works.
What you were infusing in him was a sense he had a protective gene.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're translating the real life idea.
Yeah.
Of you're going to protect the
family.
running backs.
Yeah.
And think of it as if you're protecting the family, because I know you want to protect the family.
Yeah.
So.
And that Leanne's got that eye.
Yeah. And she acknowledged finally that what she really cared about was getting him to Ole Miss. The fact that it wasn't in her game plan.
Yeah. She realized maybe unconsciously it was, but. The whole family, she wants all the kids to go to Ole Miss. All her children, she wants to, because that's the family tradition. And it wasn't to go to Ole Miss to get a scholarship, to get money, to be, no one knows if you're going to get drafted, traded, or, no, it's drafted. That's where I made the mistake before. I was like, I said traded, and they went, no, he was drafted.
Well, Archie Manning went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And so did Eli. But Peyton went to Tennessee.
See what happens?
Didn't go to Ole Miss.
But it was the fine line, and I like that in the script. Is the fine line for selfish reasons and for the school, or was it because it was the family thing to do? My parents wanted me to do certain things that they did because that's what the family did.
Like opera?
God, no. If you heard me sing, they knew not to send me in that direction.
They weren't thinking
But
that.
they wanted me to go. My dad went to Juilliard. He wanted me to go to Juilliard or School of the Arts, and I said, you know what? That's not for me. I need to grow up first. I don't have the strength that you did in your craft at your age and right now, and I would never survive. I don't have what it takes, and I knew that about myself. And
are you a workaholic?
I used to be.
So what happened?
I found such happiness artistically and personally in doing what I wasn't doing, which I wasn't on a set. I wasn't trying to control what you simply can't control. I wasn't doing.
But you're a little bit like Luann. You want to control.
Absolutely, we all do. I want to make sure that I have every experience or every opportunity, and I just was going about it by choosing the wrong projects at times, and they were more for someone else's benefit than they were for mine. And
you mean you weren't choosing well, or? Well,
I was choosing. I think if you do something that made some money at some point, everyone wants you to stay on that wheel.
This is a romantic comedy.
Yeah, and they weren't funny anymore, and they weren't good, and they weren't.
Which one told you that this is time to quit?
Well,
there
was the bus movie, and then there was the boat movie. That was sort of the beginning of the end, and
just said.
And then the doubt was that I didn't understand why I'd made that decision when everything inside of me said don't do it, but other people seem to know better. And I think when you're an actor and you're just thankful to work, you're more apt to say, if it's an opportunity, I'm not going to turn my back on it. Speed 1 was very, very good to me.
Right.
But Speed 2 helped me get a little film made called Hope Floats, which I loved. So it's,
Can you find a balance between all that?
Sometimes, but I couldn't anymore.
So you quit for 2 years. And did what?
I produced a George Lopez show, so we were doing that. I was
remodeling homes.
Restoring.
That's true. Not restoring.
Well,
meaning what they had a form of grandeur.
Yes, they did, and just finding what it was and peeling away the layers, and then finding
you like that?
I love it. I love it.
Still do it
all the time. That's what I wake up thinking about. That's what it's the frustrated architect, or I don't know what it is, but it's a passion in me that I feel sometimes I'm in the entertainment business to fund that habit. But it's my sculpting. I'm not a sculptor, I'm not a painter, but this is sort of where I can put my hands on something.
And so what do you do after you restore them?
Find a use for it. I can't let them go, but we put a bakery in one, a restaurant in another, lease them out to people who can enjoy them the way they are now and not destroy their integrity. And it's just, it's a luxury that I've been afforded with this wonderful business, but the business was no longer I wasn't being good to it, and it wasn't being good to me.
But now it is.
Yeah, then one day I was restoring a place here in the city that took me 4 years, and I got a script called Crash. Yeah. And I said I wanted to do different work. I didn't need money. I was willing to audition. I said I don't need to prove anything other than to the directors. I want to work with great directors.
When you look at Meryl's career,
you mean Ms. Meryl Streep?
Ms. Meryl Streep, yes, I do. What do you learn from it? I mean, what do you see there?
The extraordinary actor who could do something like Sophie's Choice and completely disappear is the same actor that says, I'd like to do something like The River Wild, and does it brilliantly. When people go, Meryl Streep can't do an action film, guess what? Meryl Streep can do anything she wants to do. That even in her brilliance, she has to fight to get out of a box that I think people place her in. It's the classics box, and she did it.
The Yale educated, all that stuff.
Yeah, she belongs on the stage.
Broadway,
she belongs, it's classical pieces on film, and she broke through that and made everything available to her by fighting for it. And here she is, years later, her career thriving even more than ever. But she's a good woman. She's a broad. You
and
can
a
sit
very
down.
funny one too.
Oh my God! And that's the thing that I don't think people realize.
And so, therefore, my last question: have you come to something like that yourself in terms of where you are and the capacity you think to do?
Well, I think in a smaller sense, I have. I think Meryl knew earlier on, and I could be wrong, how to say no and to be selective. She was also
more secure.
Was she what?
More secure.
Could have been. Yeah. Could have been. Very, very. I mean, she seemed that way. You never know. But right. I think when she started working, the material was also so much more rich and abundant than I stepped in. And it was sort of action film time, and women were sort of arm pieces and the sidekick or the girlfriend. So I didn't. I was lucky enough to step into a business in a genre that was pretty limiting, and you sort of had to carve out your own personality.
Right. Has that changed now, though? I mean, do you look forward to the future in which you'll see lots of roles that...
I'm seeing it now. I've seen it in the past 5 years for myself, but you have to stop the flow. You have to stop, I think, what becomes easy and what becomes comfortable. And you have to be willing to give up all the amenities that come with it. because it does sort of, it paralyzes you. And if you're not scared when you're stepping into something, at least for me, you're not doing the right thing. I think if you go into something with ease and go, oh, this is a piece of cake for me, I'm going to do look number 7 in this, you know, you've lost it.
Shouldn't be doing it.
You lost it. And I
because
think
you're walking
for
through
me, I need something to paralyze me in order to break through and sort of sit down and hunker down and find the tools.
It's great to see you.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
As the countdown to the Academy Awards continues, we bring you another Oscar moment.
She was a woman who had a lot of experience before she ever met him. She had been traveling with her family since she was a child, playing at the Grand Ole Opry and doing stage shows and being on the Louisiana Hayride and singing, you know, duets with all sorts of famous men, Elvis Presley and Jerry Lee Lewis. And she really didn't suffer fools. I think moreover than just acknowledging his talent, I think she really saw through all of the glitz and the fame to the real person.
Santiago Calatrava is here. He is one of the world's most prolific architects. His recent works include the Light Rail Train Bridge in Jerusalem, the Samuel Beckett Bridge in Dublin, and the Peace Bridge in Calgary. He's also involved in several projects here in New York. He designed plans for the World Trade Center Transportation Hub in downtown Manhattan, and he is collaborating with the New York City Ballet on their stage direction. I am pleased to have Santiago Calatrava back at this table. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've got some pictures of the railway station in Liège, Belgium. Tell me about it.
Well, Liège is a crucial city in the whole network of railway in Europe. All the lines coming from Germany towards France and Holland and England pass through Liège. And according to the importance of the city, they decide to build also a significant railway station. It took us 13 years to build, and it's really a very modern...
And how do you approach building a railroad station that might be different from some other buildings?
Well, you see, at the one side, there are gates, the gates to go out of a city and gates to enter into the city.
Yeah.
And they are also places in which people spend even a short period of time, but they do that day by day, those who commute in the station. They are also very significant elements, you know, to create city around. So indeed, in my opinion, according to our experience, they are very, very important.
Tell me what the driving vision was when I look at this image.
Well, the driving vision was that if you need 30 minutes to go from one city to another,
yes,
as it happens here, the distance between Cologne and Liège or between Brussels and Liège is of this range, and in 2 hours you are almost in London, means, you see, the station has to be very open,
right.
It has to be very welcoming, and it has to be very easy to use and accessible for everybody.
Should it remind me of anything when I see this from an image standpoint?
Well, you see, as I say, it's a gate. It's also
right.
a place, a luminous place.
Luminous. Okay, the next slide. What's the material?
The material is steel, and the big canopy you are seeing is important because Belgium and this part of the world is very rainy. Yeah. So it's a way that you can approach the station and you are already covered before being in the station itself.
Next, as an interior.
Yes, I think the quality of the interior spaces in a station is very important because people have to feel the quality of the transportation, the quality of the service, and also that they are nodal places in the tissue of the city.
And the next one, you'll see a shot from above.
Well, it's the integration in the overall cityscape. You see the significance through the volume, you see the significance of the building itself, but at the other side establish a link between the hill full of trees and the open city.
And you think this will contribute to the renewal of Liège?
For sure. This is one of the reasons. You see, Liège has been historically a very prominent city,
right.
And with the depression of the steel and the coal market in Europe, became a place who was rather depressed. But through the university and through the station, they hope to create elements who will revitalize the city and the region.
Newsweek magazine in talking said that this project somehow contributes not only to the renewal of Liège, but also it illustrates how the train station is back in fashion.
Yes, you see, as I say, we can use today in Europe the high speed as there was a tramway, you see, going from city to city.
And technology may allow that to be an increasing factor because they're understanding a lot more about fast trains than they ever have before, and they're developing the ability to make them even faster.
Exactly, and not only that, you see, if you think the crowded skies, you see, and the amount of delays that you get, and all the security problems entering in an airport, when you use high speed, you can reduce the distance between cities to spaces of, I mean, from Liège to Paris, you can go in 1.5 hours. From Liège to London, a little bit more than 2 hours. You are competing with the aeroplane without any doubt.
Yeah, it's much easier. Next thing I'm going to see is the Samuel Beckett Bridge in Dublin. There it is.
Well, you see, at the one side, I have been honored to do 2 bridges in Dublin. One called James Joyce Bridge.
James Joyce Bridge and the Samuel Beckett Bridge.
Samuel Beckett Bridge, right. Which it is, shows a bit, how enrooted they are in the local culture. And indeed, we wanted to provide functional structures, but at the other side, you see, significant ones. This is also a swing bridge. It can turn around the central pivot and has an enormous span for a swing bridge. It's almost around 300 feet free span.
Could you do this if you weren't an engineer?
Well, I think, being an architect and also being an engineer, I understood the importance of the bridges from a very early stage. You see, since knowing Paris, you see, you cannot imagine Paris without the beautiful bridges it has. Right. And so I focus from my early work as an architect, but also as an engineer, in the potential of bridges to requalify cities, to requalify places. And imagine also New York without bridges, you see. It will be not only much more difficult to circulate, but also it will be, I mean, you see, if you think of the images of...
There's no more beautiful drive in New York than to drive down the FDR and see all the bridges that cross from into Manhattan.
Yes. That is, you see how important they are in the image we get from the city.
Are you satisfied if the judgment on your career will be about the bridges you have designed?
You see, I mean, the contribution I have done in terms of bridges is just, telling people bridges are important, isn't it? That is the key point. You see, bridges has been regarded in many places as pure functional tools, and they has been put at the level of other important public works, but more, you see, utilitarian ones. And suddenly, you see, by the fact that you recall to people that the cities are what they are because they have important bridges or beautiful bridges. Think on San Francisco, think all the beautiful bridges along the Mississippi, and think New York itself. So it's probably a very important contribution.
Let's look at the Peace Bridge in Calgary. This will be completed this year?
Yes. Well, yes, this year. Yes, in September we want to have it finished. Yes.
How long does it take to build a bridge?
It depends. A bridge like that can be built in less than 1 year.
Was this more difficult than many?
Not especially. It's a pedestrian bridge, but it's very particular because it's almost enclosed and delivers a roof. At the other side, it has a tubular structure who make it structurally interesting, and then it's painted in red and white according to the colors of the Canadian flag.
Let me see the next one. I think this is in Jerusalem.
Yes, this is particularly proud about this bridge.
Because?
Because it's in Jerusalem.
Yes.
And second, also because there was a very big challenge to build it. You see, since it is a bridge who is done for a railway, and the railway in the curb, and also without any possibilities putting pillars between the two supports and having to overbridge a span almost of 600 feet.
How many bridges are you building in America? I know there's one in Dallas. Is that the only one?
Yes, I have built also another in Redding, California.
Yeah.
And I am building a bridge in Dallas and preparing also the design for a second one.
A second one in
Dallas.
In Dallas.
In Dallas.
Yeah. What's changing about designing bridges?
Well, for sure, the technological advances has an enormous impact in the design of bridges, the use of cables, the use of high-performance steels, and also the tools like the computer, to do computer analysis delivers also a very high degree of freedom and permits also to work in variants and analyze the problem in different ways. Not only priming the economical and also the functional aspect, but also the aesthetical ones. And that seems to me to be very important. Also, at the other side, not only in cities, but also in landscapes, people are waking up to the importance of the landscape as a cultural element, and the integration of bridges and beautiful structures in open landscapes are also more and more important.
Talk about the cost of building bridges and whether it's risky to run over expectation.
Well, you see, what I can say, it is my own experience has been, doing always different bridges and designing bridges for particular places and designing them for this particular place, and I have repeated that 40 times, which means, my client has been satisfied. So, I mean, the question of the economics in a bridge is an important question, but it should not be an a priori. It can be manage, and it can be dealt to do a bridge for a price, and at the other side also to do a beautiful bridge for this price, or the most beautiful bridge for this price.
How do you stand on the World Trade Center transportation hub?
Well, we are working day by day. I am very proud, to be already almost 6 years working in this project, as I say, in a day-by-day basis under the tutorship of and guidance of the Port Authority, and the project is progressing. We are approving steel plans. We are approving working drawings. We are going ahead with the project.
Okay, but how much have you had to change it and cut down and reduce its scope?
Well, less that people maybe think. You see, indeed, we have been working, of course, you see, there has been a series of revisions, but my feeling about the project, and it is, as I say, not the first station I have built, it is that the station became, step by step, more serene, more precise, more functional, and we are facing, in my opinion, a very beautiful and convenient project for this place.
And your great ambition today is to do what?
Well, let's say, you see, first of all, I'm very pleased being here in the United States and living in New York. I think it's a great place to be, particularly in this time. And when you think how many things are happening here, how many, you see, it's still, and it has been, in the last half century, the capital of the arts and the capital of the culture, and it's such an honor, to be, and a pleasure to be part of the life of the city. And let's say to be involved in Ground Zero is also something who makes me, delivers me a lot of satisfaction. But also the perspectives of working in the United States, you see, to have other challenges and to get more involved in the
life of the city.
Yes, it's also one of the things I desire very much.
We just came out of a great economic crisis. Did it just put a halt to buildings? I mean, with the global economic crisis, so that architects had to, with great reluctance, abandon projects that they wanted passionately to do?
Oh, for sure. That is for sure. Particularly in the private sector, a lot of projects has been put on hold. And this is, of course, something that with the time, will be put on track again.
Gain momentum again.
Is for sure, a big setback, you see, in this matter. A lot of interesting project was going on, and they has been, as I say, put in hold.
You once said to me that, or I once read where you'd said that you have the personality of a painter.
Well, I like to paint, I like to sculpt, I like to paint, yes, I do that. I do that every day.
But you have the personality of an artist, is what you were saying, I guess, right? Or not?
Yes, I think it is, I mean, I always understood my work as an architect, and so as an engineer, or let's say I understood the architecture as an art.
But you sketch since you were a child.
Yes, I spend, this is my job, to sketch. This is what I do.
It's great to see you here.
Thank you.
Former Congressman Charlie Wilson died today at a hospital in East Texas. He was 76 years old. Charlie Wilson served in Congress as a Democrat from 1973 to 1996. During the 1980s, he got Congress to pay for the largest covert operation in CIA history, arming Afghan resistance fighters against Soviet occupation. His efforts inspired the book Charlie Wilson's War, written by the late George Cryle, and then the successful film of the same title, in which Tom Hanks played Charlie Wilson. He earned the name Good Time Charlie for obvious reasons, but Charlie Wilson always knew that he had played a significant role in Afghanistan's history. He appeared on this program in April 2008 after the release of the film and less than a year after receiving a heart transplant. Here is a part of that conversation. What do you think of this movie, first of all? I mean, you've been lionized by Tom Hanks and Mike Nichols and Aaron Sorkin. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Real good. Yeah. I love the movie, and I felt that it was a very loyal to the book, and I felt that they got all of the important parts that George would have wanted. They got into it, and I was, of course, thrilled that Tom Hanks played me, and there just wasn't anything wrong with it. Right. Mike Nichols was great and funny, and you know.
Let's give George Cryle his credit. How did this develop so that he wrote Charlie Wilson's War?
It developed very simply, but it was all to George's credit, because George showed up in the office one day, and he had been doing some research, and he knew what he was about. And he showed up in the office one day, and he wanted to do a 60 Minutes piece. Well, any congressman doesn't want a 60 Minutes piece done, and especially me. And I didn't know what the thrust of it would be, but I didn't want to take any chances.
All the same, George, are things I don't want you to know about. Let's just not do this.
That's right. But George persisted, of course, as you would expect, and he finally persuaded me that he was going to be a straight shooter and that he was going to be the producer. Yeah. And so I said, okay. Then the 60 Minutes piece is history, then the book is history, and the movie is history. But I owe George a whole lot, because without George, this story would have never been told.
George obviously came on this program to talk about the book, but he did not live to see. Tragically died of cancer, which killed him quickly after he was discovered.
Yeah.
What caused you to do this?
I despise the Soviet Union, and I despise communism, and I despise bullies. And when the Soviet Union hurled the 40th Army on the what they thought were helpless people, they hadn't read too much history, but what they thought were helpless people, it just totally outraged me. And I dedicated 10 years of my life to it and didn't do anything else much.
What were the crucial moments for you?
Okay, that's the first time anybody's ever asked me that question. There were three, if I can now remember them.
Okay.
The first crucial moment was the epiphany I had at the refugee camps, right, where all this, and you'll see that in the movie. It makes it look like the wounded Confederate soldiers in Atlanta and Gone with the Wind. But you see all of this misery behind me in the refugee camps. And that just absolutely infuriated me. That was a big moment. And that was the moment I dedicated my life to making the Russians pay. And we did.
In big time.
Big time. Yeah. Big time. Enormous casualties and amounts of money that they didn't have.
People said this was their Vietnam.
That's right. And it pretty well was.
Yeah. With even more devastating consequences.
Right. The other defining moment was on September 26, 1986. 4 Hind helicopters, which had been the scourge of our infantry, but 4 Hind helicopters, and they were untouchable because we had nothing to shoot them down with up until then. And 4 Hind helicopters came in to land at Jalalabad at the Air Force Base, and my guys got 3 of them.
That's when they began to realize that it was all over.
That's right, and I'd say we never really won a set-piece battle before September 26, and then we never lost one afterwards.
Think about your life. Do you have any regrets?
None.
None?
None.
You would have lived it the same. It was fun. You had served a noble purpose in your judgment.
Yep.
Could you do it again? Could somebody be Good Time Charlie today in the Congress in the way that you were?
I kind of doubt it.
The exposure we have today, YouTube and everything else.
I was going to say YouTube and the all the cable shows and all that. I doubt it. I doubt it.
What was it about you? Was it the fact that you were such a likable guy that you could both be doing good as you saw it, but also having one hell of a time. That we would see Charlie Wilson and say, you know, with the beauty queens and everybody else, and you'd say, you know, wish I was him.
Well, it's not in the ethics committee doesn't investigate you for having pretty girls in your home.
No, it's true.
Right.
But was there something about the charming rogue that's appealing?
I think so, and I also think that that most people that get in trouble because of their personal behavior in Washington are either breaking the law with prostitutes or something like that, or they are just the most god-awful hypocrites and they get exposed.
See, I think that has something to do with the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
You know, it's hypocrisy people who are gay and who vote against gay rights, all
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Hate
We've
those
seen
guys.
a lot of that.
That's right.
You know, or they're Bible-toting Christians and they're showing up with prostitutes.
That's right. But people in my district would just say, "Oh, that's just Charlie," you know, and I'd come home and admit to all my sins.
Yeah.
And not.
Well, you wouldn't have to confess; you would just
That's
let
right.
them imagine.
That's right. And I used to say, and George actually coined this phrase. He said, Charlie doesn't represent those people; he entertains them.
It's a great line.
That's right.
How's your health?
It's doing much better. I had a heart transplant exactly 6 months ago. It takes a year to reach a reasonable full recovery, but I've kind of turned a corner and I'm regaining my energy and my strength, but I still have a certain amount of clumsiness and things like that that go with that kind of trauma.
And what's the prognosis?
The prognosis is good. The prognosis, I believe I bought myself 15 or 20 years.
You have to take all kinds of anti-immune drugs.
Exactly.
You know, that's no problem, though.
No.
So your life today is what?
My life today is basically very quiet in Lufkin, Texas, population 35,000, and I make a few speeches.
So we can say at this stage of Charlie Wilson's life, it's been good, it's been fun, we made our contribution.
That's right.
And we continue to enjoy.
That's right. We plead guilty to all accusations, and to hell with you.
Charlie Wilson, dead at 76.